Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
In this video, we let us introduce ourselves first. Let's start from my friend. My name is Rai Canavaro, and my name is Aswangga Asrori. And lastly, my name is Rifqi Maulana. So in this video, we want to explain about prose works that TikTok is no longer human by Osamu Dazai. Before we move to the elements, let me retell about it first. The story about No Longer Human is about Obayo Zarai, a young man who has always felt like he doesn't belong. From the childhood, Yozo is terrified of people's expectation and emotion, so he hides behind silly jokes and clownish acts to avoid being truly seen by the people. This mask of laughter keeps others at a distance but leaves Yozo feeling deeply isolated and misunderstood. When Yozo goes to Tokyo for university, he quickly falls into a world of drinking, gambling, and fleeting relationship with women. One of his closest friends, Horiki, encouraged his reckless lifestyle. Yozo's attempt at a double suicide with a woman named Tsuneko ends tragically when she dies and survives. A brief likes appears when Yozo marries Yoshiko, a gentlewoman who seems to offer him a chance at normal life. They like quietly for a while, but everything changes when Yoshiko is sexually assaulted. This trauma devastates Yozo and breaks any hopes of healing. He sinks into drug addiction, paranoia, and despair, pushing away the few people who try to help him. Yozo's mental health weighing further until he is tried mental institution. There, he writes down his life story with a brutal Hanasu, revealing how he has come to see himself as no longer human, a man who is unable to relate to others or life authentically. His narrative is fragmented, raw, and heartbreaking. At its core, No Longer Human is a powerful exploration of alienation and the desperate human need to belong. Yozo's story is a tragic but painfully real, as a reminder of the silent struggles many face and their own mess.
Okay, friend, after my friend telling you about the key points of the novel that we read, which is No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai, let's start to the next section of the video, which is we have to identify the elements of prose. Like usual, we start with plot first. Plot differentiates between 5 sections, which is exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and the fifth one, the last one, is resolution. Okay, so first we start with exposition first. Like usual, we start exposition with introducing our character, which is we introduce our main character, which is Yozo. He got a bad childhood. His parent doesn't really took care of him. He become emotionless, becomes empty without any personality, but he tried to hide it with a fake behavior, like clownish behavior, which is he becomes like funny, comedy, exaggerated, or became polite to other people. That's the exposition. Let's move on to the rising action. which is when he went to college in Tokyo, he started to grow into a bad adulthood, bad influence from his friend in college, which is he falls into a lifestyle with bad lifestyle like cigarettes. He plays with women and then become nihilistic because of his friend. He tries to emotionally connect with other, but he can't fully find the true one. He eventually become suicidal with the lifestyle. There's a woman that wants to invite him to suicide together, but it failed. It becomes bad. Yeah. So the next part is climax. Yozo meets a woman named Yoshiko, which is kind-hearted, and he falls in love with her, and then he eventually married with her. But that didn't last long because Yoshiko is sexually assaulted by another people. That makes Yozo becomes who he is in the past, which is emotionless, unworthy of love. And he begins the downward of spiral of abusing. He become addicted to drugs. He become bad. He fall more and more into oblivion. And finally he committed to mental institution by those who once tried to help him, but the caretaker or his wife and family. That's the whole climax. And let's move to falling action. In the mental institution, Yozo becomes fatalistic and almost lost his sense of identity, purpose, or desire to recover. He called himself no longer human. That's the falling action. And next, eventually we become and lastly, we begin to the resolution, which is he returns to his hometown and he disappeared from public life. Rumor talk that he lives quietly in a complete isolation. And that's the end of his story. Yozo's final story. He disappeared just like that. Without any news about him. So let's move on to the next element of prose, which is characterization. I only picked 3 characters from this novel, which is Obayozo, Horiki, and then Yoshiko. So let's start with Obayozo. Wow, what is the characterization of Obayozo? So Obayozo is one of the complex in this story. He's painfully human character in this Japanese literature. From the start, he sees himself as broken, fundamentally broken. Not enough outward trauma at first, but throughout the deep, unexplainable sense of emotional disconnection, Gazelle portrays him as someone who mimics the behaviors of others rather than genuinely participates in life. That means he didn't really express himself. That makes him really complex character. So the next character is Horiki. It's the college friend Remember the question I said, the bad influence? Horiki is one of the friends. He is a false friend. Horiki is shallow. He is a man who appears early in Yozo's adult life, which is the college. He introduced Yozo to the bad influence like alcohol, woman, and the other one. While Horiki seems charming and free-spirited, his character subtly reflects of moral and manipulation. The next character is Yoshiko, which is the woman I said he married. So to her name is Yoshiko. Yoshiko is perhaps the novel most tragic secondary character. She is very kind, gentle, naive, and represents Yozo's last hope of salvation and normalcy. Her genuine affection offers the glimpse of what Yozo could have if he were capable of sustaining love. However, she got sexually assaulted, which makes Yozo even falling deep into this nihilistic mind. Okay, so that's it for me. So let's move on to my next friend, Rai Canavaro.
Alright, so you guys already know about the story plus the plot and characters. Now we are going to talk about the setting, themes, tone and mood, and then finally symbolism. Firstly, the setting. The story takes place in Japan during the early to mid 90s. Japan was still recovering from war, and this reflects how out of place Yozo feels in the world around him. He doesn't understand society, and society doesn't understand him. The busy city scenes, bars, and rented rooms show how disconnected and alone he is, even in a crowded place. And then next is the themes, and there are different themes. The first one is how Yozo feels like he's an outsider. So Yozo never feels like he belongs. He can't connect with people in a normal way, and he feels like he's just pretending to be human, so no one notices how lost he is. And the second is how we feel like he loses his sense of self, and he constantly puts on different faces for different people, and after a while it seems like even he doesn't know who the real Yozo is. He's always hiding behind a fake smile or a joke just to get through the day. Thirdly, it talks about his addiction and self-destruction. The drugs, alcohol, and suicide attempts show how badly he wants to escape from his life. It's not just about being sad, it's about feeling like there's no way to be okay no matter what he tries. And then next is how he feels like he doesn't fit in. As I said before, he also doesn't understand how to live the way everyone else does. He can't pull a job, build a family, or even live by society's rules. No matter how hard he tries, no matter how many clients he tries, he always feels like he doesn't fit with the rest of society. And then lastly, he also doesn't feel like a person anymore. He's completely cut off emotionally, socially, and even spiritually. He's not just sad, he feels like he's becoming something less than human. And then I'm going to talk about the tone and mood of the story. The tone is really dark and painful. The book reads like someone pouring out everything they've been holding in for years. The guilt, sadness, fear. It's honest, raw, and often hard to read because of how deeply sad it is. And the mood, changes depending on where Yoso is in his life. Sometimes it's lonely and hopeless, other finds it's numb, like he's just going through the motions. And there are moments of quiet where everything feels still, but not peaceful, more like empty. And then finally, the symbolism. There are different symbolisms in the story. Firstly, it's about how Yoso feels like he's wearing a mask. So he talks a lot about acting or wearing a mask. He uses this idea to explain how he gets by in life, pretending to be someone people like, so they don't see how broken he really is. It's a symbol of how fake his whole life feels. And secondly, it's about his notebook. So the story is told through notebooks that Yoso writes, like sort of like a diary. Those feel like his last chance to explain himself, and they show how broken and scattered his thoughts are. It's the only way he knows how to tell the truth. And then finally, it's about suicide. His attempts to kill himself aren't just about wanting to die. They show how desperate he is to disappear, to stop feeling escape from a world he doesn't understand. Yeah, that's all from me.
Okay, I think it's enough to explain it to all of you guys. Hope you listen until here, and we make to another video, perhaps. See